Welcome to the show. I couldn't be happier for many reasons, but the main reason is that I get to see Todd Richardson today. It's true. From Equality, Florida. Todd, say hello to the audience.
Hello, everyone.
Todd is in his beautiful new renovated home. Look at you.
There's not a light switch pad on there yet, but it's getting there.
And what are you calling the room that you're in right now?
This is my study.
It is your study. And behind you is the what?
That's the gallery of the house.
I love it. So I did wear this hat, especially for you, Todd. No. Todd, did I tell you about this Botox at home?
No.
Okay, well, I'm going to put this on really quick before we get started, because that's what I would do. Because it's my show. I can do whatever I want.
I haven't tried Botox yet.
Yeah, well, you don't have to now. Look at this, Todd. See this? This is what yeah, Amber from Salon Sustainability. Well, that's the name of the brand. I told her, I said, I'm going to do this on camera. So are you sure this is going to work?
Well, we'll see in a minute.
Exactly. Well, it's not in a minute. It takes up to 2 weeks. So she's got some time. But I'm like, if I'm doing it on camera, girl, it better work. So now I'm not going to have lines pretty soon. Todd, this is our life in Zoom. This is what we do now. Mm-hmm. Did you ever think in a million years, you and I have met so many times for coffee, galas.
Gallons of coffee.
Oh, and right, really gallons of coffee in many places. And now we're Zooming.
Yes. I look forward to the day that everyone can get back out in public again and enjoy each other's company. And yes.
But I would take this than not to see you at all. So.
Yes.
So Todd, there's so many things. You know, I have been a huge advocate of Equality Florida since the day I met you.
Yes, and supporter. Thank you so much for your financial support. It makes a big difference in what we do and to fund our program. So thank you for always being a part of that part of our work.
It is my great pleasure. There are not many things that I give money to, but yours is one of them. Yes. So I want the audience to know why I would ask Todd Richardson, who I like to call, Equality Florida extraordinaire. He knows everybody and is such a good human. I wanted you to come on today because I watch everything that you do, of course, online. And that's how we all keep up with each other through social media. I'm very grateful for the tools that we do have today because I couldn't imagine being quarantined without this, without being able to help and reach our community. So I want to tell everybody that the main reason for me wanting to have this conversation with you is the god-awful posts that I see you putting up. The last one being about this deputy from Davie County. So let's start with that, and hopefully it goes up from there because we're going to start right at the bottom of the shit that I'm hearing. Go ahead, Todd.
Sure. So, my organization, Equality Florida, has been it started here in St. Pete 22 years ago because Nadine Smith and Stratton Politzer, our co-founders, believed that no one should be fired from their job or be discriminated in housing or accommodations. Florida is one of the states that does not have those protections in place. So literally in 40% of the counties in Florida, you could get married on one day, go into your office the next, put a picture down of you and your husband or you and your wife, and someone could walk in your office and say, you're fired. And you say, for what? And they say, we're firing you because you're gay. And I think that is just so backwards. You know my personal story. You know what I feel. I know what it feels like to be discriminated against, not for your qualifications, but because somebody thinks that you are less than, somebody who wants to marginalize you. So that's basically our work. We do great work on so many fronts, and we'll get to some of those. Let's go back to the story in Davie. So here is a police chief that says he is a homosexual who attended homosexual events. This is a cop who died in the line of duty, and he got the virus, and that's what they said about him. That's just, it's horrific that somebody could say something like that, and somebody in that position who could say something like that. And I've heard just in the last couple hours that he has been fired
Thank God.
Yes, because it's a pretty horrible thing to call somebody out like that in such a discriminatory way.
Well, especially when you have such a big platform and how many people that reaches and how it feeds the ignorance of the humans that live in our world, especially here sometimes in Florida, dare I say.
Yes, absolutely. There's irresponsibility out there everywhere, but to target him and to target a police officer who was doing good and then just do it because he was gay, yeah, it's uncalled for. And that's one of many reasons why I love the work that we do, because I believe in the work. When somebody does something like that, it's wrong and they should be called out on it.
I agree, 100%. So I have been watching Schitt's Creek with my husband for a while. I put it to the side for a minute, and then I saw your post. And I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot I was watching the show. But I loved that they were reading these letters written by the parents of LGBTQ kids. And what an impact, what a positive, wonderful impact these letters and this show was having on these families. I mean, it brought me to tears. I looked up every video about it, and then I watched him on Ellen. I mean, I went down a rabbit hole from your post. Thank you very much. Wonderful. So the reason I bring that up, there is such a lack of teaching with positive gay role models, right? And here we have this wonderful show that is such a positive, funny, intelligent. It's getting such great. They sold out a Mojave like in 5 minutes, right?
Yes.
They did that
for our great community partners. I was so looking forward to that show.
Oh, me too.
It's such an amazing show. Great writers. The Levis are really funny people. I love the show. I think it has a great message. And yes, just like what you said, role models. I went to high school up in Pasco County. I'm from New Hampshire originally. I was there in the late 70s until I joined the Air Force in 1981. I don't remember a time that I was ever taught a positive gay role model in history. Not one, not ever. And there's been so many people that have made such an incredible difference in the lives of many. And if I just choose one, we can talk about Alan Turing, right? The great movie, The Imitation Game. This is a gay man who breaks the German Enigma code, ends World War II 2 years early, saves the lives of 14 million people, and we only start hearing about him in 2013 when Queen Elizabeth posthumously pardons him for gross indecency. And then the book came out, the movie, and that was the first time I had learned of Alan Turing. And I was like, wow, what a difference it would have made in my life if I would have been sitting there in my high school history class learning about a gay role model that had made a difference. Yes. Because in my life, in the lives of people decades before me, it was all about the sissy getting kicked, his sand getting kicked in his face and being a weakling and, effeminate and just very derogatory statements made that really leads to all sorts of problems down the road, as we know.
Yes. Well, I'm sorry. That's definitely, it's such a hot point with me because I want to say that, I grew up in New York. So it's a wonderful place to grow up, I have to say, because there's not as much, dare I say, racism, prejudice, it was like
a big melting pot, right?
Totally. I mean, I would go to my dad's job at New York Hospital with him in New York City, and I was like, oh my God, wow. Like, he'd be like, yep, he's wonderful, and that's his husband. It just kind of flowed. There was no weirdness about anything. I didn't know how bad it was here until I got here 16 years ago. And I actually didn't know how bad it was until the last presidential run. So and this is not a political show, so we will not go there because, we have to, during COVID-19, everybody, you must keep your stress levels down because it's good for your immune system to not get heated. So we shouldn't get upset about these things. What we should do is we should speak about the resources and what we can do. But to go back to your point, one of the reasons that I even wrote my book, The Broken Road to Mental Health, I talk about it as much as I can. Anytime I can drop mental health in any conversation, anytime I could tell somebody today that I'm sober 25 years, that I did drugs, that I was homeless, and now today I wear this lovely hat, that I want to be a beacon of hope for somebody, even if it's just one person.
Yes.
And that's the whole intention behind it. And what a difference and an impact it can make when I find out today that Mark Jacobs is sober, that Russell Brand, that, these great, wonderful
yes, that's
people.
Stephen, like Steven Tyler and Stevie Nicks, it's like they're all, these
Brene Brown.
Yes, and they had experience that changed their lives, and then it changed their lives for the better, right? Like, yeah.
Because they became more humane.
Yes.
Because when you have suffered through adversity, you are actually attracted to adversity.
Yes.
You are like, I was you too. It doesn't matter if it's because you are a drug addict, an alcoholic, you're gay, whatever adversity you have to go through. And the difference between, there's no comparison. You were born this way. Hello, Lady Gaga. It's not like you one day you were like, you know what I'm going to do? Tell you what, guys. I think I'm going to be a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
Because that seems like an easier life.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yes.
So I've always had such a passion because I've just always felt so badly about all the ignorance, because I had my own, prejudice against, well, Sharon, you've been a boss. You can't tell anybody you're a drug addict or an alcoholic, or you can't tell people that, not in the healthcare industry. Mm-hmm. Now, when you work with doctors, what will they think? So I'm so proud of you guys, is actually what I'm trying to say. I'm so proud of the work that Equality Florida does. I can't say it enough.
Thank you so much. There is so much ignorance and hate out there. And in the last few years, those hate crimes have escalated. I've dealt with 4 situations right here in St. Pete over the last 2 years where I've had to get involved because of things happening. 4 very just horrible incidents of people just being just nasty to one another. 4 years ago, Equality Florida started our Safe and Healthy Schools program. It was a model program that we took from an educator down in Fort Lauderdale, down in Broward County. Her name is Dee Palazzo. She was an educator down there. We hired her to bring her program into Equality Florida to make it a statewide teaching program. Well, since that time, they've done 22,000 people trained, and they've hired 3 more people because the need is so great. We have schools reaching out to us, wanting us to come in and do these training programs so that every educator, whether you're a teacher's aide, a teacher, principal, school board member, that you have the specific tools you need in how to handle every situation in a classroom for an LGBT student. I knew growing up, I knew kids who were identified as gay, they were harassed, they were, and you know what their lives were like? Their lives were always like, instead of thinking about the lesson that was being taught to them in that class that day, they were thinking more about getting their asses beat at recess. Like, the whole education thing goes out the window when someone hands you a note saying, yeah, we're gonna beat you up, you fag, at recess. And yeah, things like that happen. They still happen. And students, LGBT kids, need to be protected. They need to be protected. They need to be shown that they are just as important as any other kid out there. that they should be loved and cherished, and yes, and
Well, I want to make mention too that if it wasn't for me meeting you and getting involved with Equality Florida, I wouldn't have learned about the resources at Metro. I wouldn't have learned about co-pay it forward, these wonderful tools that they have. I would have never met Jim Nixon down, and they have that wonderful little house that's in St. Pete where if you're a teenager and you need to come to a group meeting and you need to just be around your people, because for me, myself, like I have a community of people in recovery. I can go to a meeting. I'm going to a Zoom meeting in New York tomorrow morning. And I need that community because, it's the same as that movement. I always try to say things in a way so people can get to understand it quicker. There's only one reason that Me Too movement took off so well. It's because somebody said, yeah, me too. Like I've gone through that too. And that's how it's worked in 12-step recovery programs. When somebody else finds out that they've suffered from depression, or somebody else grew up prejudiced or bullied against because they were gay or lesbian or whatever. It's right.
It's right. It's how movements start, right? Yes. People who are like-minded for a specific issue gather and they say, well, what about this? And if you can look to see what the LGBT community did during the AIDS epidemic. And I was marching with ACT UP in New York. One of my dear friends, Eric Sawyer, is one of the founding members of ACT UP. And I was there dying in front of churches and going to protest at pharmaceutical companies and being a part of all that, because when you have a unified voice for an issue, you can make a difference, right? Susan G. Komen. I mean, that's just an excellent example of what happened after we saw how people gathered for the AIDS movement and then Me Too movements. And these are all important issues where people say, yes, let's gather and let's do something about that. And that's the work of Equality Florida. For 22 years, I got to tell you, just over the last 8 years that I've been with them, going on 9 years next week. So as I joined Equality Florida, they had just overturned the ban of gay adoptions. I saw kids right here in Pinellas County go from foster homes and into caring, loving, and permanent homes. Then we didn't have marriage equality, right? That wasn't even a thing yet. People couldn't, LGBT people couldn't get married. So we went after domestic partnership registries. And after watching what happened in the AIDS epidemic, what I saw was that here was someone dying in a hospital bed. They were with their lover, and the family came in from out of nowhere after they had kicked the person out. And they said, who are you? And they said, well, I'm this person's lover. And they said, get out of the hospital room.
It happened to my neighbors.
Right? So the person that loved them for maybe 10 years or more were removed from a hospital room. The family came in, and they loved what their gay son did with his life and was successful and took all of his money and everything else, but couldn't show him even a little bit of respect or respect towards his partner. Yeah, I saw all of that. So we passed domestic partnership registries so that people could plan a funeral, or they could be in a hospital room and not be removed, or nursing, or make nursing care decisions. And then we won marriage equality, right? Like, hey, right. The day it happened, Sharon, my Facebook feed looked like a wedding album. People that I knew, people that I knew here in Florida that had been together 20, 30, 40 years were finally able to marry. And so that, if I can just say just that one thing that you and I and everyone else have been a part of, that we won marriage equality for our friends, just the benefits of being married and the benefits that come along with marriage, I would say that's a pretty huge thing that we've done. And then one of the things I got to tell you I'm the most proud of in the work that I've done for Equality Florida was after the Pulse nightclub massacre, our organization jumped in and we started a GoFundMe campaign that raised $9.5 million for the
Unbelievable.
victims. And, you know, we didn't do it for 1 cent. It was a clean audit in and out of our system. The money was merged with One Orlando, and $49 million was dispersed to the victims and the families. That's good work. When I ask donors to donate to Equality Florida, I want them to see that it is measurable, that every dollar that they have given has gone to something that has mattered and that we've succeeded in.
Yes, yes. Little thing that he did, you know, he bought like a tank top and then he wore it, and we're in like Bel Air area, you know, wore it into the Bel Air food market. And I was like, just so proud, because to think that in 2020 that you and I are even having this conversation when I came from, 16 years ago in New York, the shock that I have been in about how bad it is. It's like, it takes people like you, like Nadine, that get angry, and I don't blame you. I'm angry too, and I'm not gay. But, I'm happy to support and be an ally and tell as many leaders as possible. It's one of the reasons that, I just recently brought Dr. Laura, Caesar Laura, to Metro for a tour.
Excellent.
And it was fantastic. And we got to have such a great, this is right before COVID-19, and so he's been in all of these places. He's met Jim Nixon. He's met you. He's come to the gala. He's a supporter. We need more of the medical community, because I've learned so much. I learned just from having friends, because I've asked them, so what is it like when you go to the doctor? Like, do they even ask you, like, are you married to a man, women, what is that like? Just in the checklist of a new patient, do you feel comfortable with your doctor sharing with them that you are gay as a child? It's so important.
Yes, it is.
I want to jump through this camp. Do you understand healthcare people? You need some damn sensitivity training.
Yes.
Immediately from Cole.
Yes.
At Metro.
Yes, Metro Inclusive Health does incredible work in our community.
Incredible.
I'm so proud of Lorraine Leroy, who's the executive director over there, CEO. She and people that, backed her up yet early on, and that Metro has just increased and continued to grow. And I got to tell you, it's a state-of-the-art facility for all of the community, right? Yeah. LGBT people, Q people, everyone, but everyone can go in there. And what I love about one of their programs is that if you have healthcare, you can get someone else's healthcare and medicine paid for because you do, in the way that they disperse funds. It's magic. They can help more people get covered. I believe in their organization. I volunteer for their organization. My late partner, John, sat on their board. They help so many people. And a very important part you made of that last statement, Sharon, was that one of the things I see on Facebook more than anything else in recommendations, where I see LGBTQ people say, who is a gay doctor in St. Pete? Like, that is so important for an LGBT person to know that the person that they're going to see is a gay doctor. And then everyone jumps on and they list 5 or 6 great LGBT doctors that we have. And they are. I know all of them personally. But doesn't that say something that maybe that an LGBTQ person felt uncomfortable talking to a straight doctor? And then why is that, right? Yeah. Did the straight doctor say something that was maybe inappropriate? There have been cases in the last year that I have dealt with where 2 of my lesbian friends, one of them had a procedure, and the doctor kept turning her back on her partner and talking to her mother instead. And she said, now, why do you keep doing that? And he says, well, and I got to tell you, I was so taken back that I heard that this doctor had treated them this way. This is 2021. Doctors and nurses, for the most part, know not to say anything or do anything that could come back on them or the hospital, right? Because they could be sued for discrimination for making a discriminatory remark. They could probably lose their medical license, but I don't know about that.
Well, I remember when I was managing the pediatric practice that I left 7 years ago. And I had come from adult medicine, so I had never been involved with a gay couple that wanted to adopt. I was just like, well, yeah, I mean, what's the problem? Mm-hmm. So they had to get a letter from our doctors saying why we think, yeah, it's a great idea. Now you have to have references to adopt. I understand. But they, myself and I remember the physician at the time looking at each other like, is this not normal that like all doctors, like, of course we're going to write you a letter in a quick second. And it was like, oh, you're gay friendly?
Oh yeah, right? All right. Here's another one for you. 2 gay men who are bringing a little girl into the world, and they go down to file the papers. And the clerk looks at them and says, so who's going to be the mother?
No.
Yes. Yes. I hear stories like this all the time. It's like, people think like the civil, all right, like let's see, we can just go back to civil rights for a moment. All right, did the Civil Rights Act stop discrimination towards Black people? No, it only said it made it illegal to do so. Marriage equality didn't stop people from hating us any less.
That's right.
That's right. It's like, so it continues. So until they pass, which we're getting ready to hear the Supreme Court case, right? That's going to come up in May, that determines whether or not the policy that says that that gay people are included in an anti-discrimination clause, right? Or is that not true? Does sex mean sexual identity or does it not? That means, are we going to have a national law that says that you cannot discriminate against gay people or fire them? Because in Florida, we still don't have that. And we're going to continue to fight for equality Florida until we have that in Florida. Many companies, everyone knows that we do a much better job as companies and organizations when all voices are included. When inclusion and diversity are part of your message, we will get talent from New York and San Francisco and LA moving to Florida to come and be a part of our communities. But they're not going to do that if one of them or both of them feel that they can be discriminated in their job. And like I said before, that still happens in 40% of the counties in Florida.
It's disgraceful.
Yes.
I mean, I have learned so much. I'm not happy about what I'm learning, Todd, to be honest with you. I'd rather learn something good.
Thank you. I know. We're making headway.
Yes.
We are. We're
slowly
making way, and it goes back to politics, right? I'm sorry we have to bring that up, but who are the state legislators that are stopping the Florida Competitive Workforce Act from being passed? Well, let's just say it's not Democratic legislators, right? They don't have any problem with passing a blanket law that says don't discriminate against LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
But 10 years ago, when one of our public policy directors walked into one of the Republican legislators' offices and said, would you consider being a co-sponsor of a bill? And when she said the acronym LGBT, he looked at her and said, now, what does LGBT mean? And when she told him what the acronym meant, he looked at her and said, get out of my office. That's someone who we elect to represent all of us. Yes.
Because it only starts when they're young. It only starts with how you impress as a leader of any type, whether that's a teacher, a principal, the basketball coach. If you're prejudiced and you're spending time with our children, they're going to hear you.
That's right. We all know that hate is taught.
Totally.
You're not just born and you say, oh, I don't like this person or I don't like this person. No, you're taught that someone says to you, hey, this person is less than because of what? Their skin color. Those are messages that I heard. And then when I joined the military and I saw that everyone was the same, that we were all going to die together, we were all going to live together, and that everyone was just the same, I knew that what was taught to me was wrong. And I unlearned that behavior. And we can all unlearn that behavior. It's just a choice, right? Religion asks you to hate someone.
Ooh, you better be scared.
I think you should find another religion. That's not what religion should be about. Religion should be about
love and kindness, and giving, and help your neighbor.
Right.
Not hate your neighbor.
That's right.
Help your neighbor.
Giving of yourself and being respectful of all religions.
Well, I buried some rosary beads just last night right next to my Buddha statue in the backyard. You know why, Todd? Because I can.
Because you can. I love that.
We can all live together in perfect harmony without judging others. We could all just love each other, especially during this time. In my opinion, and there was a conversation that I almost had with somebody yesterday, but I thought, you know what? Right now is not the time. We are going through a global pandemic together as a globe, not Florida versus New York or Chicago. This is a global issue. And so is what we're talking about today.
Yes.
There is a global pandemic that has been going on about butt crack ignorance.
Yes. Yes. So, I hope that one day the world evolves on so many issues.
We could, Todd. This could be a part of it. This is a great time, everybody. So let me take this opportunity to first take a breath. Because as I said before, Todd, you can't have any stress like this going through COVID-19. It affects our immune system.
That's right.
We need to love more.
Yes.
And I do believe, as horrible as what's going on in this temporary new normal, that not only will Mother Earth be affected wonderfully, but I'm quite sure that there's going to be a gay doctor, a gay policeman, a gay fireman, that is going to help you when your relative is dying today.
That's right.
And maybe that's what it's going to take for you to change your mind. I hope it doesn't take that.
Yes.
So Todd, I love you, my friend.
I love you too. What a great opportunity. Thank you for letting me come on and talk about the quality flow. We hit just a little bit of stuff, but
there's so much. We'll have to do part 2. I have a feeling we might be in this quarantine for a little while. Don't you worry, Todd. You come back.
Part 2.
Come back with Nadine. We'll Zoom everybody in.
Excellent.
And we'll reach the healthcare community too, because we all really need to hear the different messages. Listen, today, right now, I know probably about 4 or 5 physicians that are not outwardly gay to their own community.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because they still feel like they could be judged within their own jobs.
Well, yes.
From their superiors who might not like a gay doctor.
Well, tackle on that they might be Asian too.
Yes.
And where the hell did the coronavirus come from? But China.
Oh, that whole thing, right? Like, yes. Let's be done with all those people. Yes.
Again, let's not raise our stress level.
I hope that through this little chat that we had today, that we are a catalyst for people to do good and to reach out to others. And I hope that if people want to learn more about the work of Equality Florida, they'll go to our website, www.equalityflorida.org.
All right, Todd, I'm your friend. I'm not going to let you even say www anymore.
Oh, really? Just say equalityflorida.org?
Just say it.
Just say that? Okay. And then I also want to remind people that because we lost 5 galas because of this pandemic, we lost 5 of our biggest fundraisers throughout the state. So on April 26th, on Sunday, from 1 to 8, we are going to be having a statewide virtual gala. And it's going to come from all different places, including St. Pete, where we'll be featuring the fabulous singer Jennifer Reel and the actor Matt McGee, who's an incredible performance artist here in St. Pete. We'll have Gina Duncan, our transgender inclusion director, on speaking about that important program. Jenny O'Leary, who is she is the chairperson of our steering committee for Equality Florida here in Pinellas. She, like you, is a straight ally. So she'll be talking with Mayor Kreisman, who will be joining us for the St. Pete portion, which will be from 5:30 to 7 on the 26th. So I hope people will join us throughout the day. We know that everyone's not going to show up and stay at their computer for 8 hours, but we hope that you'll show up and choose to look at some of the programs that we do in some of the areas and pop in.
Listen, people, I can say this because this is my show, and I'm the Dr. Whisperer. Listen to me carefully. You need to support the gala with money. Okay? So you can be a friend sponsor, which sometimes that's the only thing I can do, especially right now. But there are other ways that we can help. If you can't give the cash right now because you have lost your business or so many people are in such a tough way, you can spread the news. You can share this with somebody that might be able to help. You can offer something to Equality Florida right now that could help them. We need more people, maybe not like me, because some people think I'm a cray-cray to the cray-cray. But I will say whatever I need to say to get more people to help. We need more straight allies, more leaders that will come out and say, this is ridiculous.
That's right. That's how things change. And what a great point you made in that, Sharon, because like if you just we do an analogy for what happened in the 1960s with the Freedom Riders, right? They got on buses in northern places like New York. They came down, blacks and whites together, to sit at countertops where they were getting coffee thrown in their faces, right? To break Jim Crow laws. And it was when enough white people stood up and said, you know, this is just ridiculous. We are all human beings. Same thing. When we get enough straight allies to say, you know, hasn't this hatred for the LGBT community gone on way too long? They're just human beings. They just want to have families, jobs. We just want to be respected and loved just like everybody else. That's all we want. We want what everyone else wants. We want our families to flourish. We want to feel love. We want to give love. That's all what.
Yes, and if you've changed your mind and if you were raised in a family, we understand where they taught you how to hate.
Unlearn it, right?
It's okay to admit that you've made mistakes and that you've learned from it. You will help so many people if you do that.
That's right. That's right. That's such a sweet message. It's like, just think about let's just think about two emotions for a quick minute. Happiness and joy, right? And you know, one of my favorite sayings is your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yes.
Right? So when you're good and you're doing good, you feel good, right? But when you're like attacking people and being nasty, and it makes your blood pressure go up, it makes your heart race, you feel awful. Why do you want to put yourself in that state of mind? It's so much easier to be kind and loving than it is to be hateful, right?
Yes. Amen. So be kind to everybody.
Be kind.
You're not going to catch it.
No.
You're going to catch COVID-19 if you hug somebody right now and you go outside like a
social
dumbass.
Distancing.
But you're not going to catch gayism.
That's right.
That's a dumb shit. We love you, everybody, and we want you to be safe during COVID-19. I can promise you, we've been talking, almost all my healers and all my doctors that have come on here have said, take this time to be a little more introspective. Think about how you can leave this global pandemic as a better person.
That's
So
right.
I say yes to that.
Yes.
You say yes to that, Todd?
I say yes to that too. It's all about hand washing, distancing, self-isolating. Make sure
And
that the 6
stop
feet
being
of
a dick.
right. Stop being a dick. Let's add that one to the thing. Be nice to the people, especially all those people out there like your husband who's
Yes.
delivering packages.
Say
All
thank you
those
to my
people at the
husband.
front, our nurses, our doctors, all the people that are in the grocery stores
The
who are
homeless
being
person that
subjected.
comes up to you and asks you for money and shows you the vet card. I gave him money today. I
That's
pulled out
right.
my
So
$2. The
all the
sink.
all the people that are in our grocery stores that are being subjected to everyone, and some people who won't even wear masks. If you are out in public, wear a mask over your face right now to show people that you care about yourself and others, right? When you go through the line at the groceries, you're saying something nice to the person who's rigging your groceries up, that you care about them because you're wearing a mask, right?
As my healthcare attorney, Sarah Conley, says, you need to smile behind your mask.
Or put one
Hashtag.
on your mask.
Yeah, or put one on your mask. But for God's sake, smile behind the mask.
Yes,
Sorry,
everyone can see your smile in your eyes.
yes, because you can. You see, look, let's do it for the Todd. Be serious. Now smile. Thank you, Todd. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. You are amazing. Thank you, Equality Florida.